Breaking Black podcast. Today we have a really interesting topic that I've definitely been wanting to get into for some time, especially as an African American, and that is how often people of color are subjected to Eurocentric beauty standards and the constant comparisons that we run into as people of color expressing our own beauty and our individuality. You actually sent this clip to me that I thought was an incredible clip. So I'm going to play it. Let's let the audience take a look at this, and then we can come back and talk about this deeper conversation.
Patriarchy, racism, sexism, there was a standard of what things look like. We are in a different time now as there's an exploration happening.
Whenever someone said, oh, you're like a white boy, I took it as a compliment because I wanted that blonde hair. I wanted it to be 6 foot tall. I wanted the blue eyes.
Like West is best, white is right, and everything else is like subpar to that.
Well, if this is the beauty standard, then what is true about Black people?
You know, that topic is quite an interesting topic because I feel like, you know, most of the world does not understand what it's like to continuously be subjected to somebody else's definition of what is beautiful, especially when it doesn't represent someone who looks like you. And, you know, as a woman who's spent majority of her time, you know, kind of rocking her natural appearance, you know, wearing kind of a natural aesthetic, be it, you know, my curls or my blowouts or braids or, you know, faux locks or anything that I've, you know, tried, I tend to be favorable towards more natural, you know, hairstyles and even just my natural features. I don't contour my features and things of that nature. So it's like, it's a really tough space to constantly have to try to not only be expected to assimilate, but also have to kind of boldly proclaim your beauty. You know, I think that I'm an incredibly beautiful woman. You're an incredibly beautiful woman. And I feel like it's not often that we see our, you know, style of beauty represented as the standard, if you will. And so I think it's a tough conversation because I don't think it's something that just only happens within the African American community. I mean, you see this across the board, you know, with all persons of color, and kind of essentially being expected to, you know, be upheld to a different standard of beauty, one that ultimately does not come natural to us. And in all honesty, oftentimes is not even natural to those that it's most frequently imposed upon, because the average, you know, European or European American person is not blonde haired, blue eyed. We're all kind of navigating under this same space of being held to this particular standard that I really think pretty much does not speak to the majority of people across the world. I mean, how do you feel about that?
That one is deep, and I think it's funny because just as a person, just hearing the gentleman who was looked like Asian descent, right? Just me as a Black woman, for him to say what he said, and just feeling like when someone said to him that he was like a white boy, and that was a compliment to him. As a Black woman, that resonates with me, and it kind of gave me goosebumps in a sense because even just moving to Georgia and me talking more proper or saying the words how they're meant to be spoken, and someone telling me, are you think you're white, or are you Hispanic? And I'm just like, I really don't understand that question, because it's like, for one, obviously you can see that I'm a Black woman, okay? So it almost kind of like you're diminishing the fact, where you're trying to take away the fact that I'm proud of being a Black woman. I don't know if that makes someone else feel more comfortable, but it's okay, but it's not okay, right? So when I hear him saying that he thought it was a compliment, right? It kind of takes me back when I was younger, and I, you know, people saying to me, because, you know, I did have longer hair, and you know, my eyes are hazel brown and things. People are like, okay, well, you know, you look different. You're not your typical black looking little girl. So I would get all the time, oh, you're pretty, and or pretty for a black girl, or you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, whoa, like I don't really know how to navigate that. So growing up, being that my skin was lighter, being that my eyes were lighter, being that my hair was longer, you know what I'm saying? People had me confused. So now I'm confused, and now you're questioning who I am. And so I just remember being a little girl and saying, I'm a white princess, I'm a white princess, and I got in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got in trouble. And so, not necessarily trying to take away from my blackness, but I think everyone more so was trying to put me in this box that they thought was pretty. They didn't really know where to really put me, in a sense. And when I say it like that, it's like, okay, did you really have to put me anywhere? Right? So that's what society does. It tries to, even at a young age, put me in such a box that I really didn't belong in anyway. So as an adult, I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? I think when you get older, you do embrace it more, and you do get excited about, you know what I'm saying? So you know me, I've done hair for many, many years. So I've had weaves, I've had braids, I've had extensions when I really didn't necessarily need them. I've worn wigs and things of that nature. So to be honest, when I decided to lock my hair, I don't really know what made me do it or whatever, but when I say it was the most empowering thing for me, and it goes back to just feeling inadequate in those ways, or even being in those spaces where we had to feel like we had to straighten our hair, wear contacts, and things of that nature, just because. And I don't know if it was like a subconscious thing, but a lot of people do that, and it's okay, because some people, I'm not against wigs. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wigs or wearing the contacts. I want to put that out there and say that I'm not against those things. But what I'm saying is, you got to look deeper and say, what are the reasons? So for, again, that young man who said, you know what I'm saying, he took someone calling him white as a compliment. You got to go deeper and ask why. Why did I think that I was a little white princess? And a lot of times I think it's because people put those narratives onto us, and they put us into those boxes, to where it's almost like if you tell a lie so long, you'll start to believe it. You get what I'm saying? So I think that being put in that box so long, you will honestly start to believe it. And that's kind of where that self-hatred comes in. But again, it goes back to doing the work. You know what I'm saying? And again, what reasons are you doing that? What reasons are you getting those BBLs? What reasons are you wearing that waist cincher? What reasons are you putting those contacts in? It's ultimately to look like what you think is acceptable in the eyes of everyone else, or is it something that you genuinely think is beautiful to you? Do you have anything that is the Eurocentric standard that you can look back and say, you know what, I did that. I'm guilty. I've done that, because I think we all have. You know, I relaxed my hair for many years. Just because it was placed upon me, because my hair was too thick when I was younger, right? So do you have any of those things that you did to kind of fit into those molds?
I definitely think I have. I mean, for though I've been natural, I've had a natural hair, or non-chemically treated hair for, you know, decades of my life, majority of my life. There was definitely a period of time, probably for about a decade, where, you know, I didn't wear my hair in its natural state. I went to the shop and I got a professional flat iron, or I would get a blowout, and I wore my hair like that, you know, probably consecutively for, you know, probably about a decade. And I think majority of that was motivated a lot by Eurocentric standards, and, you know, essentially people telling me that, you know, I looked better, or more better groomed, or more well kept if my hair was quote unquote straight. And I got that even a lot in the corporate world, a lot of times, which, you know, it never really made a lot of sense to me. But I definitely think that there was a period in my life where I assimilated a lot more than I would today. And I think looking back at that, you know, I grew up, when I was younger, I had kind of like a very straight kind of patterned hair. It was like, it had waves in it, but when I was a lot younger, it had a more like a straighter texture to it, kind of like how you see with, you know, people who are from the islands, or Hawaiian or Polynesian, that kind of it was a looser textured, you know, wave pattern than the tighter, curlier texture that it is today. And I think when I was growing up, because so many people were accustomed to seeing my hair kind of in a looser textured state, that as I got older and older, my hair got curlier and curlier and tighter, it was more or less like, oh, you looked prettier when your hair was like this or that. And so I think to a certain extent, I would assimilate to that. And at one point in time, I remember working in the industry, and I would go out for auditions and things of that nature. And I remember being out there, and every time I would go out, the last question that I would hear before I left the room is, would you be okay with if we straightened your hair? And I heard that time and time again. And I think in the back of my mind, that was always prevalent. And I look back at some of my earlier headshots, and almost in every one that I had, my hair was straightened. And so it took me a long time. I think it wasn't until the natural hair movement that we started to see, as people started, creating videos and YouTubes about natural hair and things of that nature, that I really started to kind of just like really embrace what it's like to kind of have hair in its natural state. And I mean, I do the same thing. I wear wigs and weaves and play around with braided styles and locks and all these different things. But ultimately, I think my reasoning for doing it now is about changing my look. But at one particular point in time in my life, I think it was definitely more about Eurocentric, imposing Eurocentric standards of beauty on me as a young African-American woman. And that's something that I've really made a conscious effort to get away from. So now when I'm doing different things with my looks, it's just about freedom of expression. It's not about me trying to assimilate to something that other people might consider to be beautiful, because in fact, Black is beautiful. What about you? I mean, I know that you have a natural hairstyle now. Have you ever gone through these phases and changes? I feel like when we first met, I think you were in a straight style, back then, was that ever an influence on your decision? I know you also worked in the hair business, so you probably have an even deeper experience around that and working with different women and different hair types and things like that. How do you feel about, this type of conversation?
I've always been the type to whatever makes you happy, right? So I never, like I said, the reason why I've always had longer, thicker, curlier hair, and me getting the relaxer was not by choice. It was kind of, I was in the 5th grade, and my mom was just like, you know what, I'm tired of pressing this, right? But and so we're gonna get the relaxer, and I had so much hair to where it took like 2 buckets of that kitty perm. You get what I'm saying? And back then, it's to where you had a fan blowing on you. You're got the oil spraying on it, and you're sitting here burning. And I'm thinking, I don't think I would put my child through that. And it's not saying that my mom that was abusive of her, but it was just like she did it not for any type of to make me look better, but it was just more so to make it more manageable for her. And I wouldn't say that I had kinky hair, which you would consider like kinky hair. It was just a lot easier for her to maintain if it was a little bit straighter. So I guess that would be a question for her, if it was something that she did for me to be, to be more befitting of society, but I seriously doubt it. I think it was more so something for her easier to manage as a mom, right? But I don't know, looking back, and I always, because both my daughters who have natural hair, but they have 2 different types of hair, same parents, but you have one that's fairer skinned with very stringy hair. We thought it was something that she would grow out of, but her hair is very straight and it's lighter, right? So she kind of takes after her dad in that sense, right? But then you have my older daughter, who kind of takes more after me, more of your stereotypical Black hair, right? So then, even having people come up to me and be like, oh, she's so beautiful, talking about the younger one, right, with the fairer skin and the thinner, more finer hair, less curly hair, and they're saying, she has colored eyes. What is she mixed with? And I'm just like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself as a mom, okay, that's a lot to take in, because I have this gorgeous brown baby over here that you didn't compliment or even acknowledge, right? So yeah, she has colored eyes, but so does she. Everyone has colored eyes, right? So maybe that was me being a little catty, but yeah, we all have colored eyes, right? Everyone's eyes is a color, for one, and for 2, she's mixed with the same thing she's mixed with. They both have the same parents. Oh my God! And then they clutch the pearls, right? And I love that we come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, and things of that nature. Our hair is different and stuff like that, because we can dig back, right? So when my youngest daughter was born, she was born with blue eyes, and we're like, what the heck? Of course she grew out of it, but you can't really put us in that box that I was put in as a child and say, oh, you fit into this one mold of what beauty should look like, right? So they say, oh, it's in the eye of the beholder. I truly believe that, but then I also believe that we can actually change what the norm is when it comes to beauty, right? Because now you have thicker models that are not a size 0. You get what I'm saying? You have the fluffier ladies, right, who are out there flaunting their thing, and you have people who have hair that is a lot more coarse and things. People who are a lot more dark skinned, who we are finding more beautiful, right? So of course, you're still going to have those people that are hating, but that's just anything that we do. But I feel as though whatever beauty looks like to you, let it be for the reason that you intend it to be, but not because you're hating on what you have naturally. I think that plays a big part in it for me. What is the reason behind it, right? So like you said, when you were younger, you had, they were asking you, oh, do you mind straightening your hair? It's like, we already know why they're asking you that. But how did that make you feel when they were saying, hey, do you mind straightening your hair? And of course, you know what it is, right? As a woman that knows what it is, how did that make you feel, though? Did you feel like, okay, I'll straighten it because I know what it is? Or, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, how did it genuinely make you feel for them to ask you that as a Black woman that is versatile, right? That is beautiful in your mental state, but don't mind flat-ironing your hair, before them to ask you that? How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I definitely hated it. I mean, I grew up as a young girl whose mother, wore beaded braids. You know what I'm saying? She had she reminded me of, like, when Alicia Keys first came out with the Fallen video and we were growing up. My mother had a whole bunch of different styles, but that was one of her favorites. So she liked to wear like these French braids with these beads on the bottom. And my mother was all about, she had an afro back in the day. She was about the natural hair movement way back before it was even popular to do it, or before we started championing it today, right? And so I grew up watching that. So to have somebody tell me that, I should straighten my hair, or do I mind straightening my hair, because I know that to them, they feel I'm going to be more sellable or marketable or more valuable. My beauty is going to be considered more valuable to do that. I absolutely hated it. And I was never in agreement. So it was like, I hear some young women share stories where, like, they didn't even have that belief in their beauty. They didn't understand how powerful it was. I was never in that space. I always consciously knew that I was a beautiful Black woman, that my natural skin, that my natural color, that my natural hair, that my natural features were beautiful. I always knew that about myself. It was more so the idea of me trying to get into certain professions or be in certain spaces and having somebody tell me that this is what I need to do to assimilate in order for me to be accepted or to be more marketable to them. And that's what I hated the most about it. I wish I never endured that, because I think to a certain extent it does do something to your confidence, a certain aspect of your confidence. And at the very least, it will make you feel as though somebody's telling you that whatever you are naturally packaged with, is essentially not good enough or is not comparable. And, that's a horrible message to send any person, especially when a person is in a stage where they're growing into becoming the person that they are. So I always hated that. I saw another video, and I do want to play it because it actually touches upon some of these things that we're covering right now in this segment. So I'm going to play this video that I ran across on the internet, and we'll come back. Let me know what your thoughts are about this.
Your race. Like, this is not a before and after. It really starts to make you feel like you don't belong. Like, who you are is different and not acceptable.
There's even a phrase within Black communities called good hair. And good hair is hair that is not kinky, not difficult to comb, and more closely mirrors the silky or soft hair of a white person.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with my natural hair. And I remember when I was in college and I started my locks, my uncle told me that there was no way I was gonna get a job with my nappy hair. What's really messed up is I'm pretty sure he was trying to help me.
When I would interview, I'd always pull my hair back and then I would show up for my first day like this. So then I would be like, take a picture of me just like this so this could be on my ID.
Even globally, white beauty standards are a huge thing.
If you travel to China, there's also just like white people on the billboards for like Chinese clothing lines, which is very weird.
That was a lot. It's crazy because it's like Maya Angelou said, you know what I'm saying? We talk about good hair, but it's like good hair is having any at all, right? So it's like my best friend has lupus, and when she was losing her hair and when her hair was thinning and things like that, she kind of was forced into having to do different things to still stay within those beauty standards, right? And so I don't think that it's fair to say, oh, it's good hair, or oh, it's whatever. I don't feel like that is something that was something that we should continue. Right. I think that that's so ancient for people to be like, oh, that's good hair. And when I moved here, honestly, even my wife was guilty of it. And I think a lot of that has to do with being down south. Oh, he got some good hair. And I would ask her, right, challenge her and be like, well, what does that mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? How do you know it's good, right? So people would even, taking it back to my daughters, would say that about my youngest and say, oh, she got good hair. And I'm just like, actually, it's a lot harder to manage her hair than it is to manage her hair. And so a lot of people be like, what? For real? I don't get it, girl. And it's a thing. It's serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her hair is so, it might look like it's not, but it is, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot harder to manage than it is that kinkier hair. So be careful what you say, and especially if you don't know what you're talking about. So, right? And so when I hear people say, oh, you got good hair, or the word nappy girl makes me cringe. It's one of those words where people are like, oh, we're going to take that back and we're going to repurpose it. I'm like, no, we don't have to use it, because what does that even mean? Like, I don't even know. Like, what does that even mean? like nappy, what does that mean? When you're younger, you say, oh, the little kinkabugs back here. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so crazy to me. Like, I don't understand that. And it's funny because even in this conversation and dynamic that we're talking about, Eurocentric beauty standards, right? A lot of it has to do with hair. And it boggles my freaking mind. It's just like, I don't understand, because you have these celebrities who are not Black women who are wearing the cornrows and they're calling it something different. Because I think when Kim Kardashian had them, they were called boxer braids or something. I'm like, those are called cornrows, mommy. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't take something that we've been doing since the beginning of time and change the name, and now all of a sudden it's hella cute. Like, I don't understand that. It is so weird, and it's always hair. It's like the strangest thing, because I remember my big brother, when we were younger, my mom would tell him, because he had tried to get locks, right? And she was just like, you might want to cut that. And just like the young lady said in the clip, where her uncle was like, and they genuinely think they're coming from a place of greatness by telling us that. And it's just like, no, I'm gonna rebel at all costs, and I'm gonna love on my hair. And if you don't want to hire me, then guess what? That's not a space for me. You know what I'm saying? We have to stand firm in that, because, like, I hear the word we've said so many times, natural. What does natural mean? Because even when I step into a store and they say a nude lipstick or a nude nylon stocking, whose nude are we talking about? Because that nude is not my nude. That skin tone is not my skin tone. Because guess what, Tina? If I put that nude lipstick on, I'm gonna look like I do drugs. I'm gonna have these powder white lips. You get what I'm saying? What are we talking about here? Like, let's be honest, right? So nude lipstick to me, because I naturally have darker lips, if I put on a nude that would be more so for a woman of a fairer skin, that's not gonna look good on me, sis. It's just not. So I don't want to fit into something that is natural for you when it's unnatural for me. So when I hear natural, what does that mean for you? Because to me, natural is literally sitting in my skin, sitting and being acceptance of my kinkier hair, not my nappy hair, but my kinkier hair that is good to me, and being okay with that. Oh, I got chills, because what is natural? What does that even mean? What is new? What is natural? What is that? I'm done. I don't even,
I can't stand the term good and bad hair. Listen, there's two types of hair to me, or I'll say four types. There is healthy hair, unhealthy hair, short hair, and long hair, or no hair. And we're going to leave it at that. Everything else in between, I don't care what it is, kinky, curly, wavy, straight, spiraled, locks, braids, you name it. Everybody has the right to rock something that is natural to them in their natural essence, the way that they are naturally born, how they are naturally derived. I feel like at the end of the day, like, we need to be celebrating that, and that's going to look different on so many different people, because even as African Americans, we have various different types of hair textures, and densities, and at the end of the day, and styles that we like to wear. And so at the end of the day, I feel like it's just about not imposing what you think your standard of beauty is on someone else, and allowing their natural beauty to be represented as a standard, as the standard. I think that individuality needs to be respected. I think that the world and society needs to do a better job at really embracing people of color and our culture and our hairstyles and our features and our skin tones, because they all come in a vast variety of different types, and every last one of them is beautiful and needs to be respected as being beautiful. And I think that that's something that that definitely needs to change in terms of society standards of beauty. Well, we want to thank you for being with us today. I know that this can be a sensitive topic and it can be triggering for some. So we just want to let you know that we celebrate all beauty in all shades, in all colors, in all sizes, in every ethnicity. We celebrate you and we welcome you to our channel. If you would like to hear more from us, please make sure that you like and subscribe at Breaking Black Podcast on YouTube, as well as on Spotify. And we are at Breaking Black Podcast on all other social media platforms. Thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time.